Okay, so easy yin. We'll start on our back with the banana. So moving your hips to the right edge of the mat, and then moving legs or feet, arms, head, neck, shoulders, everything but your hips. You want to keep your hips here. You want to keep the hips on the ground. But take everything else and move it over until you begin to feel a stretch here in the right waist and ribs. And then we'll be here for 3 minutes. Okay, let's go ahead and switch sides. So we move our hips over to the left edge, and then we move everything over to the right. Everything else but the hips to the right. Let's unwind, coming to neutral for the rebound. Before you counter stretch, close your eyes, relax and still your body, and pay attention to sensations. All right, let's go ahead and bring our legs in, and we'll shake it out a little bit. It's called the leg cradle, and the idea is just to move in a way that brings back balance and relief to your body. There's no one right way to do this, so it really just depends on what you're feeling. Right, our next posture is also done on the back. So what we'll do is straighten out our legs, take the left leg up and drop it to the ground on the right side. Prop your head up to start, take the legs apart, bend the bottom knee, reach back, grab the foot, pull the heel toward the buttocks. And what you want to feel is a stretch in the front of your right hip and thigh. Now, unlike the first set, there are more options here. So I'm going to tell you what they are. Feel free to experiment with them and see what works. There are three things that we use to measure what's working. Does this make me feel safer or less safe? Does this give me a better stretch or a worse stretch, again at the front of the right hip and thigh? And then finally, does this make me more or less comfortable? We need to be comfortable enough to be able to hold the posture basically in stillness for 3 minutes. So first thing to consider is the front leg. Is it straight or bent? Is it closer to your face or further from your face? Next is your head. Do you keep your head in your hand? Do you rest it on the upper arm? Do you put it on a yoga block or a folded blanket or a bolster? Then there are the shoulders. We want the shoulders at least stacked, left above right, but you can also lean back, bringing your left shoulder toward the ground behind you. But you want to do that without bringing your hips back as well. So this isn't about laying completely on our back, but you can take a deeper twist. Finally, there's this right foot that we're holding. So I can pull it in, which is what most people will do, but you can also, while still holding the foot, kick it back, and that can create a different stretch that some people enjoy more. And the one caveat about that is it's going to be more work. So you're actually engaging your muscles. This is something that my teacher, Paul Grilly, made pretty clear, is as a generalization in yin, we want to stay relaxed, but there will be times when our muscles are engaged so we can get the most out of what we're doing. Okay, so let's switch sides. You'll see me turn. That's just so I can continue facing the camera. You shouldn't need to do that. You can just roll over onto the other side. Okay, let's rebound. Take your time making your way onto your back and just relax. Okay, let's bring our legs in and shake it off. And now we'll use something called the hinge to come up to seated. So hands under the hips, palms down, legs straight up. Lift the head and neck. If there's any pain in your back, just bend your knees until the pain subsides. Exhale, lower the legs toward the ground. Inhale, pop them up. And exhale, use the weight of the legs to pull you up to seated. Okay. Now we're targeting the hamstrings, which are back here in the back of the thigh. Right leg is straight, left foot to the inside of the thigh. Now this is the first time that props really start to make a lot of sense. So feel free to put blocks under your forehead or forearms, under the left knee. You can also sit on a block. Generally what that's going to do is it's going to make it less intense. So if it's a little bit too much, sitting on a block will make it a little more intense. Okay, so stuff in front of you is less, stuff behind you is more. All right, but keep in mind, if you have too much support, you will lose the stretch. And that stretch is really what we're intending to create in this particular posture, okay? Be here for 3 minutes. Now, one other thing I'll mention is some people want to do this, and I understand that that might feel really good right now, but over time that can actually injure your back. So my advice is don't do that, okay? Just let gravity do the work for you. If for some reason this isn't intense enough for you, reach out to me and I will make some suggestions of alternatives that you can do while we're doing this particular posture, okay? Okay, we will switch sides. Let's rebound. All right, everybody, let's counter stretch. When you're done with that, hinge up. And eventually make your way to tabletop for bear pose. Here we can do things like rolling the head and neck, shrugging the shoulders, moving the spine forward and back, moving the hips from side to side. You can repeat the movements, you can combine them. And when you're done with that, you can spend some time in down dog, rolling your toes, circling the ankles, pedaling the feet, and even kicking your legs. These are both counter stretches and warm-ups. Okay, let's continue with a sleeping swan. We bring the right knee toward the right wrist, the right foot across the mat to the left wrist, the hips down and back, and then the torso can either stay upright or come forward and down. And we want to feel it here. These are the glutes. It could also radiate down the side of the leg, all right? Now this probably has more options than any of the other postures we've done so far, so let's go over them real quick. The right foot, the foot in front, it could be flexed or pointed. It can be tucked under your left hip or drawn up closer to the front of the mat so that it is level with your knee and your shin bone is parallel with the front of the mat, or anywhere between those two extremes. Those are the two sort of extremes for that foot. The right knee, which is this knee here, can point straight ahead or angle out to the right. The hips can rock right or left, or they can be squared to the mat. You can place something underneath this hip, like a block or a folded blanket. But I do want to make clear that it is not dangerous or wrong for the hips to hover above the ground. Okay, you might have had like a yoga teacher or something like put something under your hip in a pigeon or this pose, but it is not inherently dangerous. Okay, it's okay if you feel safe. As I already mentioned, you can be up on your hands, drop down to your elbows. If you're down here, you might find that it is tedious to hold your head up. So feel free to place a block under your head or even a bolster. Some people will cradle or hug a bolster in this position, so they'll put it under their torso, and that's perfectly fine if you'd like to do that. When I give you lots of options like that, if you're not used to practicing in a functional way, then you might feel overwhelmed or like you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing. And again, there are 3 criteria by which you measure what you should be doing. Do I feel safer? Do I feel a better stretch? Am I more or less comfortable? Okay. Now, I want to be clear, these things are often antagonists to one another. So something that makes me feel very safe might make me also lose this therapeutic stretch. Something that gives me a better stretch might make me more uncomfortable. So it's not as though you will be able to get all 3 perfectly. It's usually going to be a balancing act. So you're usually looking for a kind of Goldilocks zone, like, okay, I found a nice balance of all 3. It's not that all 3 are ever going to be perfect, okay? Let's switch sides. Okay, to rebound, I recommend either child pose, which is this here, or you can lay flat on your belly, which is called crocodile pose.
Okay. So again, we can do some bear pose here. And you can do some down dog, just depending on what you need. You could spend all of your time in one of these poses, or you can do a little bit of both. Okay, the last few postures, the last 3 sets actually, focused primarily on the hips and thighs. So now we're going to shift our focus back to the spine. So let's come onto the belly and prop ourselves up on the elbows for what's called Sphinx. Now, Sphinx is a fairly mild back bend, but it's very effective for most. And what you want to feel is some compression here, so some sensation there. Again, it needs to feel safe, and you need to be able to hold it, so it needs to be comfortable enough. Now, that's not enough, so I'm not really feeling much today. There's some days when my back is very sensitive and this position is going to be plenty, but today isn't one of those days. So I will need to go a little further into what we call a seal. And as you can see, as I walk my hands back, it goes deeper. And if I walk my hands forward, it would be a less deep back bend, less intense, okay? So this isn't a competition, you know, of who goes the furthest or anything like that. You just find your edge where you feel the sensation. And it's usually going to be a range, right? From less intense to really intense. Variations for Sphinx and Seal are the same. So head held up is neutral. Drop forward will stretch the muscles that attach to the occipital ridge. Drop back will stimulate the thyroid. Shoulders depressed is more stable for the shoulders, but it's more work. Shoulders relaxed is less stable, but also less work. Legs could be together, wide apart, or anywhere in between, and that will have a pretty big effect on what you feel in your spine and your back. All right, so gradually come down, and we'll do one more pose before we rebound. So again, take your time transitioning. It doesn't need to be a rush, but eventually make your way into a tabletop facing the long side of your mat. All right, with your hips directly over your knees, take the knees as wide as they will go for a frog. Okay, and then once you're there, You can stay up on your hands, drop down to your elbows. Your feet can be together or apart. They can flex or point. And your hips can remain over the knees or press back toward the heels. All right. And what we want to feel is a stretch in the inside of the thighs. Those are the groin or adductor muscles. Okay. So again, this one is focusing on the hips again. Okay, we're going to rebound. What I recommend is just making your way onto your back because that's where we're headed. Okay, let's bring those legs in, counter stretch. And we'll finish by again focusing on the spine. So twisted roots, right knee over the left, and then we drop the knees to the left.
Things to consider are how close are your knees to your chest? What position are your arms in? And what position is your head in? So you are free to experiment, to try different things, and you'll find that they affect what you feel. The target is the spine, okay? But if you have a healthy spine, you're not going to feel your spine. You might feel a stretch here or here or here, various places in the torso, hips and shoulders, maybe even the neck. But while those are beneficial, so it's not unimportant that we feel it, we do want to feel it, or you should say, we're not going to feel it in the spine, but that's the area we're really targeting. Okay, we'll switch sides. Let's rebound. Okay, let's counter stretch. And from this point on, you have a few options. One is to lay back down and continue your relaxation, go into a deeper relaxation for several minutes. It can really be as long as you like. But we do the rebounds between the postures in yin. So that essentially functions as a shavasana in the end of a flow yoga class. So that is our kind of relaxation. So if you feel like you're ready to get on with your day, feel free to go ahead and get up and do whatever you need to do. I want to thank everyone for coming today. If you have any questions, reach out. Again, we can spend a few minutes going over something specific. And if you need more help, we can schedule a private. Otherwise, until next time, namaste. Have a great day.